Christian, I want to ask you Thor: Love and Thunder. I loved you as Gorr.
Thank you.
Almost to the point where I was like, I want to see Christian back in the MCU again. I'm just curious if you would take on, since Gorr has such a distinct look, if you would take on another role if you were approached for the MCU to come back.
Good story's a good story, good character, good director if it's an interesting thing. And crucially, if my kids are telling me that I'm not allowed not to do it. If they are
That's what happened with Thor, right?
Yeah, they said, no, you're not saying no to that. You're saying yes to that. And I went,
Now, Harry, I want to ask you because we recently lost the great Robbie Coltrane, and I always hear the greatest things about people who worked with him. When I say that, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about him?
Well, I was lucky enough to do the first film with him, and there was a scene we did, and I just remember laughing my head off the entire time. As a 10-year-old, I just found him completely charming, completely full of life, and just wonderful. And so when I heard about him passing, it was very sad indeed. But I will always have those memories of him as when I was 10. So
he was a big presence. I worked with him too. When I was 14, I did Henry V.
Oh my gosh!
With him, and he was full staff.
Oh wow!
And he would come barging in, and he was bloody funny. And I can't repeat almost anything that he said on TV, but yeah. A larger-than-life, wonderful man.
Poe, I need you to discreetly infiltrate the contest. What is this? Blood, symbols, rituals. Oh my lord.
I love this pairing. I'm obsessed. I also love the relationship between your two characters, and it's a special one in the film, and I'm just curious how you were able to find that cadence together as actors offset.
It's an easy thing with this bloke because he's fantastic at what he does. He's in an enviable position where he's incredibly experienced, right? But for many people, they might not be familiar with all of his work, and so I want to be him because he'll be Poe to so many people, but impeccably so, right? It's the most enjoyable thing. And so it's just an absolute pleasure, real joy. I learned so much from Harry. He learned nothing from me.
That can't be true, Harry.
Totally true.
What do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, it's not true, but what I will say is when you work with incredible actors, they elevate you. They elevate you to their, whatever you want to call it, their place, their genius, their whatever you want to call it. They make you better. And that was my experience of making this film, was just being elevated by an amazing array of actors.
I love it. I would love to solve a murder with Edgar Allan Poe. If you could solve a murder with any historical figure, who would you pick?
You know who came into my head straight away? Jesus. I don't know why, but I was like, I want to go on a detective journey with Jesus.
With Jesus. Wow.
That was just a blip.
I'm going to say Harry Kane because I feel sorry for him right now.
Yeah, so, I know, but don't feel bad, Harry. Like, he's brilliant.
He is. Yeah.
I grew up in Delaware, and there was a bar down the street called Deer Park Tavern. It's still there, but there was a legend that Edgar Allan Poe stayed there, fell in the mud, and then cursed the building, and now it's haunted by Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's great.
You ever spent a night there?
It's not a hotel anymore, it's a bar, but it used to be a hotel. Yeah.
But still,
but I have
did you ever
spent
spend the night
there.
in the
Yes.
bar?
In the bar.
Pretty much.
Lucky.
Now, Harry, can you tell me about your physical transformation? I heard, they shave your hairline back a little bit. You also opted not to do the iconic mustache. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the hair was one of the early decisions. They kind of shaved it. This hairline kept going back, just to give him that very prominent forehead, which we all recognise as being very Poe. And the moustache was interesting because, obviously, when you think of him, you think of having a tash, but the whole point is we're trying to understand who was the earlier version of Edgar Allan Poe, and so he thought, let's not have a tash, let's kind of give us room to invent who this person might be. And the physicality was just sort of, it wasn't necessarily consciously thought of, it was just stuff that came from wearing a costume and building up the certain characteristics of what this Poe might be.
I love it. I've despite the gothic air of the film, the murder mystery of it all, I hear there was a lot of levity on set, some giggling. What do we giggle about on set?
I do tend to find that the more serious a film is, I've got kind of gallows humor, right?
Yeah.
And so I do start giggling at the worst moments. And you have to get that out. You have to kind of expunge that, a lot. So just silliness. And what we do is silly. I mean, we play dress up for a living.
Right.
So it's intrinsically very silly and open to lots of silliness, you know, as well. And so, you know, I'd say lots of ridiculously distracting things to Harry because he's too good. He's too good, bloody good. That's what it was.
So you try to mess with him.
I would try to throw him off his game so that I would look better by comparison. Singing little songs in his ear right before he starts going on and whatnot, and seeing if he can still keep a straight face. And he does. He's very good, you know. But it's risky for me because, you know, it's called corpsing, right? And I do that once I start, I can't stop. And it's to the point where people are really annoyed with me. And the more annoyed they get, the more funny I find that as well. And it's just a never-ending downward spiral.
The worst when you get it. It's just
me.
that's
and
it.
Especially when it's a Friday night and everyone's tired and wants to go home for the weekend. It's abysmal. But yeah.
Did you say it's called corpsing?
Corpsing, yes.
I love that. I've never heard that. The great Robert Duvall appears in the film.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Making it a sort of Newsies reunion 30 years later. Did you two have a trip down memory lane together about
Absolutely. We, in between takes, they couldn't stop us singing all the Newsies songs together.
I hope that's
Non-stop.
true.
Absolutely true. And Harry knows them all by heart as well. And we would, all the three of us, would do all of the routines.
Let's go. Let's hit it.
Takes.